from his studios in New York, it's time for Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Here's your host, Dan Tortora.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. You can listen in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora here in Central and Upstate New York, over in Delaware, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, in and out of the country. Wherever you get the internet, you can listen in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, which is pretty much everywhere at this point. I'm waiting for the chip that they just implanted in our brains. We think about a show, and all of a sudden we're listening to it. It's getting there. It's getting to that point. But I appreciate you tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And I'm happy here in the second hour of the broadcast to be rejoined by somebody who is no stranger to the show. When he was getting recruited to play college football, we had a conversation about Syracuse, about Boston College, about his thoughts and where he was planning on going and the schools that had reached out to him. We moved forward from there to his time at Boston College and always hoped the best for him and wanted to see him have some success coming in to the Dome, and obviously Syracuse going to BC. You're always looking for Darius Wade and what Darius can do. And he ended up being a starter. He got hurt. He comes back. There's multiple quarterbacks trying to be the starter at BC. He had multiple opportunities in Boston College, ultimately went to Delaware, and is now facing some adversity with what's going on physically with his body. So he has a story to tell, and it is a tremendous road that he has taken to get to where he is today, and I'm happy that he's standing upright doing his thing. So with that being said, let's bring him into the broadcast once again. Darius, how are we doing?
Hey, thank you, Dan. I'm doing very good.
And Darius, to go back to those recruiting moments, hindsight is 2020. So what can you say about, how recruitment had gone for you and ultimately choosing Boston College? Bring me back into that, because we spoke about it in the heat of it, but now that you've had, obviously years to look back on it, what were your thoughts on going through recruiting?
So that's definitely a great question. So pretty much, looking back on it, I feel like the biggest thing I should have done was be a little bit more patient. So I feel like one of the issues being a young, impressionable high school kid is because you kind of get a little anxious and you just kind of want to just make that decision right away. And I went on all my visits and saw so many different beautiful places. And Boston College at that time was the one that kind of stuck out to me the most because it fulfilled so many things that I needed, which was academics, a good conference, and an opportunity to play early. However, I still committed in April before the May open recruitment period, where more college coaches are going to come in and kind of take a look at me and everything like that. So I just feel like in general it's always best to still be patient, not try and jump the gun. And definitely, I'm still not opposed to my decision going to Boston College. I understand there's a lot of adversity. Things weren't perfect, but I still have a wonderful degree, have a lot of networks, and still I feel like I better myself for the future.
And, ultimately, when you made that decision to go to Boston College, who helped you to make that decision? Who helped to make that connection? Who at Boston College were, the people or the person that you really just bought into there?
So probably one of the people was definitely the head coach, Steve Adazio. That was going to be his first year being there as a head coach, and he was someone who I followed when he was at Temple. And I just kind of liked just the vibe that I got from him because he definitely is a very intense, kind of serious guy. But he seemed like he was about winning and definitely seemed like he had a genuine care about his players outside of football, which was definitely something key to me because one of the things that I knew is that I wanted to become a better person and a better man. So I believe that he could have done that for me. Not only that, there was I want to say the recruiting coordinator for Boston College, Brandon Brown. He is now a scout for the Philadelphia Eagles. But when I first got there, he was one of the people like who took me on my tours and kind of like helped me around with everything. And he was just very informative, just very helpful, very straightforward and honest, and just really didn't BS me, which I really appreciated. And like I said, the campus is just beautiful. So it was just a lot of things that kind of just came together that just made me really like it.
So you had Steve Adazio, who was coming into his first season with the Boston College Eagles after being over with the Temple Owls and helping them have some success. What can you say about your experience with Steve Adazio and just what he brought to your time at Boston College, just what you think of him as a head coach?
Great question. So with Coach Adazio, we definitely had our ups and downs. It definitely wasn't all roses and just great, but I just believe that he definitely pushed me very hard. He definitely held me accountable, and he definitely wanted, at the end of the day, what was best for me. However, just like with any business or any type of team, things don't always work out in any one person's favor. So pretty much after I had that misfortune of getting hurt, then I kind of allowed myself to get in a bad mental state, and he just was there for me, tried to pull me up out of it and keep me focused, as well as some of my office coordinators and just different people around the facility, which was definitely a big help. But he, like I said, I think he definitely was a big help. He definitely gave me a lot of valuable experiences that I can use going forward, especially like if I want to become a coach myself or not, that's something that I can then use to kind of help put me in the right direction and give me like a little template of how to kind of go about it myself. And like I said, his kind of toughness was definitely something that will help me going forward, because with this adversity that I faced, without being able to have that mental toughness that he always preached about, then there's no way I'll really be able to just try and keep going. So this was definitely, like I said, a good experience. He is definitely a good coach, which is a reasoning for why he got an extension at Boston College through, I think, 2022. So, I mean, hopefully the Eagles keep getting things done, and hopefully they don't have any more bowl games canceled so they get to at least 8 wins. So,
yeah, and to see that, like you said, he helped take you out of a tumultuous time, and when you got injured and kind of got down on yourself, he helped to pull you. How did he pull you out of that, and how much time did he really spend with you in this? I mean, being a head coach and overseeing like 100 players and having all of these assistants and doing everything that they do and game planning and whatnot. How much time did he spend with you, and did you feel like, it was almost because, I mean, Steve Adazio, to me at least, seems like the type of individual that will go out of his way, and no matter how busy he is, would try and find some time with you. Did you get that same sense from him? Bring me into it a little bit.
So yeah, definitely I did. So pretty much what he did for me was just accommodate me, because I think I was on crutches for probably like 2.5 months. I was on crutches for a while, and DC is not a very handicap accessible university. So he managed to get me some of the GAs to be able to golf cart me to class, so that it was more convenient. I could make sure I can get everywhere I needed to be. Whether it was just him just calling me whatever time of the day just to check in, just make sure I'm doing all right. Even when I was, like I said, hurt for the whole season, he still offered to have me come to like the victory meals, come to the games and travel, just so I can still feel like I'm a part of the team and just kind of feel like I'm engaged with everything and that I'm not forgotten. So it was just kind of just some nice little just small talks and just checkups, just to genuinely see, Darius, how are you doing? Are you feeling any better? Like how's the leg coming out? It's like seeing me in the training room when I'm just getting rehab and stuff, just always checking in. So it was just nice just to know that after I got hurt, I wasn't just kind of forgotten, that they were still aware that like I was going through a tough time and just trying to be there for me and accommodate me any way they could to help things go a little bit better.
So you had this, you went through this injury, and describe to everybody, how long this injury was, what the injury was for people that don't know, just the rehab you had to go through, because you talk about kind of getting, down and sad about it, depressed about it maybe. So bring me into the timetable, what the injury was and just what you had to go through to try and get back on the field.
So the injury was fairly bad. So I actually broke my tibia. so your shin bone. So I fractured that and separated my ankle. So most people just say I broke my ankle, but I separated my ankle out of the joint. And that amount of force ended up tearing every ligament within my ankle. So that was not ideal at all, and it was very painful. So then the next day, Dr. Nascimento, the team physician for Boston College, then set me up for surgery. They put in a thick metal plate into my ankle and put in 3 screws and 2 tight ropes, which are metal wires that they bolt in on each side of the ankle just to kind of keep all the ligaments and everything stable. And that still is what I have in my ankle today. So that was permanent. And thankfully they didn't have to put anything into my shin, and they allowed that just to heal naturally. But the timetable was pretty long. I was on crutches, like I said, for 2.5 months. And then finally was partial weight bearing for a week. And then, so now we're already in November, because this happened mid or early September of 2015. And now I'm partial weight bearing for a week, and then they had to go back in and take out the surgical screws and then put in filler screws. So then I was back on crutches for another week, and then back to partial weight bearing for probably another 2 weeks. And now we're in mid-December, about to go home for break, and then I'm finally cleared to walk without a boot. And then January hits, I was finally able to hit a little bit of a jog. February hits, a little bit of a jog to a sprint. And then March hit, and I was finally able to kind of really get going, be able to do some dynamic work and kind of really get back on the football field, which is great timing because it was right before spring ball, my apologies. So it was right before spring ball, which was great. So then I was able to kind of get back, and it was definitely a hard adjustment because once I got hurt, I was completely done with football because I couldn't use my leg. So just kind of being out of football for a little while, finally getting back, it was definitely a big adjustment and definitely took a lot. And not only that, we then brought in transfer Patrick Coles. So then that was another challenge that then I had to try and overcome and face that hurdle. So
speaking here with Darius Wade, a quarterback that spent some time with the Boston College Eagles for 2014 and 2017, ultimately ended up back in Delaware and is now going through some adversity in this moment as well. And Darius and I spoke during his recruitment and spoke before he had made his decision on Boston College. So it's been a long time of knowing Darius. And when you went through this, and like you said, bringing in, Boston College, bringing in a transfer, I know that there were a lot of injuries that happened, including yours to Boston College one season. I think 4 guys went down, or 3 out of 4 guys, or at one point all 4. So, when you're going through that and you're having these moments, you're trying to get back healthy. Then as you're out, if somebody's playing well, you got to beat them. And then if a transfer comes in, you got to beat that. And then if a freshman comes in recruiting, you got to. So, just bring me into not only at Boston College, but a broad scope of when you're a quarterback or any type of a player on a team and you go down and you're the starter, or you could be the starter, and now you have to deal with transfers, recruits coming in, getting back from injury, how you navigated and dealt with all of that, because you're trying to get healthy, you want to be playing the game that you love, and obviously the game goes on, and you have to find your way back into it once you get healthy again.
No, completely true. So as you kind of laid it out, it definitely is not an easy thing to do, and it's a lot of times it's easy to lose faith because as you're trying to recover and get healthy, the process isn't going as fast as you want it, and you're thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to come back the same, or I'm not going to be able to come back quick enough. And like you said, once you go through the recruiting and all the transfer possibilities and things of that nature, then now, like you said, now you have added competition on top of that. So now you're even that much more eager to try and hurry up and get out there so you can hopefully try and prove that I was a starter, I should still be the starter. And like I said, it's definitely difficult, and definitely, like I said, bringing up the same word, adversity. And all you can do is really just keep a focused head, try not to let what other people say get in your head. There's a lot of people in those situations just say, oh, you got hurt, they brought a transfer, they're probably going to replace you, just leave, just go somewhere else. And that's typically, for a young person, that's typically their main thing to do, which is just run away from trouble and run away from that bad situation that they believe they're in. But like I said, in order to actually, I feel like, grow as a person, you have to be able to fight through that adversity and deal with competition. And I had no problem dealing with competition because in order to be a good quarterback, you have to have confidence in yourself. So if I don't believe that I can beat out any quarterback that steps in front of me, then I'm not worth anything. So, like I said, I was definitely more than up for the challenge, and it was definitely a hard one and an uphill battle because of the injury. But I managed to finally get back for spring ball, and then took a little bit to get acclimated again. But once I got acclimated, I was definitely believed I had a pretty good spring, and definitely was continuing to compete and just try and improve and get better and find a way to get back on that field. So.
And when you're going through that, speaking here with Darius Wade, once again, quarterback, played at Boston College as well as Delaware, and recruited by Syracuse, recruited in the Northeast, going through his time in high school. You know, Darius, to have to deal with all that and all of the outside noise, how did you handle all this stuff? Because I'm going to jump in. I'm going to jump into your body for a second here. Okay, I'm going to jump in your shoes. I'm playing football. I'm at the ACC level. I'm playing high octane, awesome football in America. I'm in the ACC. I'm going up against quality talent all the time in the Atlantic Division and the ACC overall. I'm playing for a coach who's a high octane guy, big energy guy, in Steve Adazio. I get hurt. I'm sitting here looking down at my legs saying, what the hell happened? I'm trying to get better. I got people carting me to class. I'm watching the games from the sideline. I'm watching these quarterbacks take over. I'm watching them go to bowl games. I'm watching them have success without me. And now I'm being told, hey, you know what? They're bringing in somebody. Why don't you just get out of here? Why don't you just move along? You're not going to find your way back onto the team. I don't know how long this is going to take me. I don't know what's going to happen as we move forward here. I mean, this had to be a tremendous, because we talk about the mental side of things. This had to be a tremendous mental journey for you to go from to go from being recruited to National Signing Day, to getting to Boston College, to becoming a starter, to getting injured, to losing your job, to having people tell you to leave, to having all this outside noise. And you got to sit in class to go through all this stuff. You got to sit in class injured, having people whisper behind your back, having you look down at your leg, feeling bad. You still got to be a student. You still got to be an athlete. You still have to do the things that you promised to this university. You got to rehab. You got to get better. And amidst all of this stuff, there's all of the outside noise, and then there's your brain. How did you keep your brain strong? How did you keep your mind focused? How did you handle something? Because when people get hurt at work, they go home, they eat Cheerios, they watch television. When you got hurt, you can't go home and run away, and everybody knows who Darius Wade is at Boston College, and, you know, is he coming back? When's he coming? So how did you handle the fact that, like a typical workers' compensation thing, you're not going home having your Lucky Charms and watching Dr. Phil? You're sitting in class while everybody's saying, what's Darius Wade going to be after this? How did you handle that?
That was a great recap. So initially, in all honesty, I did not handle it well at all. So something that I realized now looking back is that high school for me, I did not have adversity. That was something that, like, throughout my entire life, I really never had to feel something like that. I never had one of those stories where you see, like, on the E60s and stuff, and the 30 for 30s, where they had these very adverse backgrounds that so much happened. So for me, I never really had that. High school was just great. Started since I was a freshman with the 4 state championships, won 2 of them, Gatorade Player of the Year. So I had all these accolades. Everything was great, no issues. Being recruited by all these different schools. And before I left, one of the things my dad told me is that something that I have to be prepared for is adversity. And I mean, you really can't be prepared if you never had to deal with it. So I was not really, I thought I was prepared, but I was not at all. And that was just so much going on. And especially after I got hurt, one of the things that I kept being told by other people, because that was our 3-9 season, was that, oh man, if you were here, like, we would have won that game. Yeah, dang, only if you weren't hurt, yeah, we could have beat them. So constantly hearing that initially, like, that was like satisfying. It was like, okay, like, I'm clearly needed, I'm appreciated, and I'm wanted. And people believe if I was able to still play, that we would be winning. So initially that was great to hear, but over time, just hearing that more and more, then that started really taking a toll on me in terms of, I know if I was playing, then I feel like I could be of assistance, I could help. Like, everyone was just so down, and like I said, since we're having such a bad year, people around campus are criticizing everyone and saying this and that, and there's just a lot of negativity and just kind of bad vibes around the team, because now people are saying, you know what, I'm trying to leave, I'm trying to transfer, yeah, this sucks, and there's just so much negativity, and just constantly hearing that, well, if I was there, I could have fixed it, and knowing that I can't, my legs broke, I can't do anything right now. Like, it just started kind of weighing so heavy on me, because, I mean, as a quarterback, just like in the interview process, and just like what a coach would do, a head coach would do, is you have to take the blame for a lot of things. Like, even though it might not be your fault, you still take responsibility, because as being that leader and being pretty much the head of the spear, you then have to not take all the credit for the wins, but you receive more of the credit for the wins, but then you take pretty much all the credit for the loss. So in that situation, that's kind of how I took that. And like you said, still having to go to school and everything like that, it was just so much, and just so much negativity. And because of that, I did actually go into a state of depression. When I initially got hurt, it did not start off well at all. It wasn't until I then finally started getting a little bit healthier. The season was then coming to an end, so now all that was kind of behind me. And then at that point, just kind of finally let my parents in to know kind of really how I'm feeling. And talking to one of my cousins, who actually is a therapist, just kind of just getting some information from him and just having him just talk to me. That was such a huge help to kind of get me over that hurdle, because I thought I was prepared for adversity, but in reality I was not at all, and it was in a way overwhelming. But thankfully, with a good support system and the coaches who were understanding, that I was able to kind of get over that hurdle and keep pushing forward.
So you ultimately, speaking here with Darius Wade, you ultimately made the decision, Darius, to leave Boston College and go to Delaware. Bring me into that decision, and after going through injury, after going through rehab, after going through all of that, mental testing, to get to where you got to a point where you said, you know what, I feel like it is best if I move forward here and go to another school. What made that the right decision for you, and what made Delaware the place?
Good question. So, University of Delaware was my first offer when I was a sophomore in high school. And I remember after the offer, I was so excited, and definitely went and took a visit a couple weeks later, just kind of get a tour around the facility and stuff. And it was just a nice environment, and like I said, it was home, so it felt good. But as time passed on, I then realized I was getting much bigger attention, and a lot of bigger schools were giving me opportunities. And me being born and raised in Delaware is the second smallest state, so it's not very big. And being here your whole life, you pretty much know everyone. So because of that, I just felt like I wanted to kind of get for college a different experience. It's kind of like when I was at Boston College, there was a bunch of people who were from California. It's because, I live on the West Coast. These 4 years of college, let me experience something different on the East Coast, a little bit colder weather, and just kind of have that experience and then move back to where I belong. So I kind of wanted to have that city type of vibe, because I was born and raised in the suburbs and really never had the city experience. And me knowing I was going to be a business major, I hopefully would like to live in the city. That way that'll make being a businessman a lot easier. So pretty much since UD was my first offer, I knew from the Joe Flacco story, the Pat Devlin story, and the knowledge of these big D1A guys who transferred to UD and then had the opportunity to then play in the NFL. I knew that if anything happened at the D1A level, that I had no issue transferring back home, transferring down the level to the FCS level, and then playing for my home team and being able to end my career on a high note. And this was something that I had set out since my sophomore year. After I then started getting more offers, then I realized, well, this is my perfect backup plan. And I practically made them aware of that if anything happens, I'll be right back home, and I'll make sure I come here and hopefully help turn things around and be a good player for this team. So this is something that was already in the works. And once I was at BC, was it 2017? I just kind of realized that the coaches were kind of going in a different direction. Because after Pat Tolles left in that last year, I had a great spring ball and came out of the spring ball the starter and made sure I gave him my all that fall camp. And I mean, ultimately, either I got beat out, or ultimately I felt like what I believed is that they wanted to go in a different direction. In terms of, at this point, I'm kind of the old, beat-up quarterback who really hasn't played much, and then you have Anthony Brown, who's still playing and still the starter, who they believed was the future, and he was just a young gun, someone that you can just really grow with. So because of that, I felt like they just kind of wanted to go with the younger guy, which, I mean, it's no problem. That's a business decision. That's a organization decision. And, I mean, I can't do anything about it. I mean, that's just the way it goes sometimes. So then after that happened, he got hurt. I had a chance to play. Then finally, since I got to play the last 3 games, I had some film out there. So I was like, you know what? Now that I finally have film, this would be a good opportunity to then transfer, because even though Anthony got hurt, I don't know if his situation will be like mine, where they're just going to try and replace him. Or not necessarily replace him, but just have a good backup plan. So because of that, they'll probably want him to be the starter again next year. So I said, you know, let me just kind of go with my plan B, head home, be able to hopefully get all the negativity and all the adversity that I had to deal with, put that all behind me, and have a fresh, clean slate at a new place. And I thought home would be the best place for that, because, I mean, I rarely had an opportunity to go home at all at my time at BC, because I'll stay from session 1. I'll stay over most breaks in order to make sure I could graduate in 3 years like I did. So I was just rarely home at all. But, yeah, so that was pretty much the reasoning for my decision. Just wanted to kind of be home around family, have a fresh, clean slate, and this is something that I had in the works since I was a sophomore in high school, so it's something I already know I was going to do.
That coming from Darius Wade here with us this morning, going through his recruitment, going to Boston College, back and forth with Anthony Brown at BC, and then ultimately coming to Delaware. Darius, you did what a lot of quarterbacks are doing in college football now, which is transferring and, you know, being able to shift over to another team and play. There's these new opportunities. You could play up to 4 games in a season and still redshirt, so you can keep your time. You can go out there. You can get some experience. Then you could sit down and, you know, have 4 years left on it. You can transfer now, and, you know, at an all-time rate, I feel like people are transferring quarterbacks. There's 14 quarterbacks that have chosen, at least the last time I checked here on the tracker here, 14 different quarterbacks that have chosen to move, and there's more on the docket here. Kelly Bryant's going from Clemson to Missouri. Alex Delton went from Kansas State to UTEP, he thought, and then later changed it to TCU. Justin Fields going from Georgia to Ohio State. Ben Hicks, SMU to Arkansas to rejoin his former head coach, Chad Morris. Jalen Hurts is going from Alabama to Oklahoma after they faced off in the college football playoff. Johnny Langan's going from BC to Rutgers. Tate Martell, Ohio State to Miami. Devin Modster from UCLA to Cal. Riley Neal from Ball State to Vanderbilt. Cameron Rising from Texas to Utah. Sean Robinson from TCU to Missouri. Jordan Travis from Louisville to Florida State. Jake Tuttle, Utah to Indiana. Brandon Wimbush, Notre Dame to UCF. So it's happening, and that's just the quarterbacks that I've named. What do you think about this, about a Jalen Hurts who's a starter? You were a starter, right? And Tua Tagovailoa comes in, and all of a sudden Jalen Hurts is the forgotten man. So he's shipping out and going to the team that they just beat in the college football playoff. Kelly Bryant didn't like how things were when Trevor Lawrence came in. He decided mid-season to leave. You know, there's these guys like Tate Martell who didn't really feel like maybe there was going to be a chance for him at Ohio State. Ben Hicks, you know, going back to be with his old head coach, maybe didn't like the situation with Sonny Dykes. What do you think about all of this? Because you made the move, other guys made the move, but I'm looking at a long list of quarterbacks who are some successful guys who had a lot of talk behind them that, you know, these schools are never going to see because they're going to go try and do it somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. So no, that's a great question. That's definitely a trend that is definitely happening. Thankfully, Unfortunately, the NCAA is doing a good job of making transferring a more accessible and easier process to go through, because before there was a whole, you know, talk to your coach, compliance, your athletic director, all these people had to be informed, and everyone had to sign off and approve for you to leave. You would have to sit out a year. So there's all these different complications that made it difficult to do, but now they're realizing that you can't really hold a kid hostage at a school. If he truly believes he wants to leave, then you can't just keep him there. If he wants to leave, then allow him to leave and go somewhere else. Because, I mean, coaches, they can pick up and leave and go wherever. They just end up going somewhere else regardless. So coaches had that ability, but for some reason they didn't allow players to have it. And I understand why they didn't want, like, practically like this to turn into free agency, where now it's like a recruiting period where, all right, let's make Oklahoma a super team this year. All right, let's go to Florida this year and make a super team. And everyone just kind of just talk and just all go to the same place. Kind of like they do in the NBA. So I know that was a deterring factor. And also they want people to go to these schools for school primarily, and then football is a secondary thing. But yeah, I feel like, especially now, you're going to see a huge rise in quarterbacks trying to transfer. And it's not even a situation of we don't like competition, or it's just this generation of quarterbacks. It's a simple fact of people aspire to go to the NFL, want to play at the next level. And you only have one college career to do that. And people think 4 to 5 years is a long time. No. It goes by very quickly. So because of that, you have to seize your opportunity, and every time you have a chance to go on that field, you need to make the most of it. And people are aware that only one quarterback gets to play. Yeah, he might get hurt. Yeah, he might do bad, but those are mights. And you can keep just waiting and guessing, and then there goes your career. So because of that, people are just trying to take initiative and say, you know what, I can just kind of see how this situation is playing out. This is not technically this isn't the best situation for me to excel and be able to put myself out there to perform well. So because of that, I'm going to go somewhere else where I feel like I'll be more needed, more wanted, and be able to be used more effectively. And then that's why it's definitely a big uprising in these transfer quarterbacks.
Yeah, and, you know, and seeing this situation, like you said, if you don't want to be held hostage, if you want to leave, you're going from the player's point of view. Speaking here with Darius Wade, who played quarterback at BC, recruited by Syracuse, ultimately ended up back at home in Delaware. When you're going through this, and a coach, essentially, and there's multiple angles to this argument, but from your player point of view, if you go somewhere and a coach recruits you to go there, and you got a great position coach, you got a great head coach, and then the head coach goes, you know what, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go to Texas Tech. I want to go to Oklahoma. You know, I think I would fit best at Oregon. And they hightail it out of there, and you're left here wondering what's going to happen. You go a couple months without a coach. You don't know who's coming in, and then a new coach comes in, and they have the recruits, and they want to bring in their guys, and you're from the other staff, so maybe they don't like you because you're not one of their guys. They want to make their mark. They want to show they know how to recruit. Maybe you have a great relationship. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't want to sit there and figure it out. Bring me into that aspect of it, because there's a lot of people transferring, and there's some negatives to that, and there's some positives to that. But one of the things that I could see from your point of view is if you have a coach dedicate themselves to you, and then they say, you know what, Darius, I don't want to be here anymore, and they got a 10-year contract, they only serve 2 of the years, they buy out and go somewhere else. If they leave, then why should you be required to stay? I know that wasn't your situation. I know Steve Adazio is still at BC, but to speak from a player's point of view, when a head coach gets fired or a head coach leaves, do you feel like players should be handcuffed and have to stay there not knowing who their next leader is going to be?
So I know this is definitely a big question, like you mentioned, and the NCAA, I know, is trying to do a good job with rule changes to make them not handcuffed, because they know, like you just said, you explained it perfectly in terms of once that new coach comes in, there's a lot of uncertainty. You don't know if it's a good coach. Let's say you were in a spread offense, and now you get a new coach, and he says, all right, we're going to be just like Georgia Tech and go triple option. If you're a statue pocket passing quarterback, that is awful. You need to leave. So because of that, like I said, there's just a lot of uncertainty. Things might not work on your favor. A lot of coaches do the typical, I'm going to bring my guys with me. Because I remember when James Franklin went from Vanderbilt to Penn State, and he, like, literally his entire Vanderbilt recruiting class all then came with him when he transferred over to Penn State. So, like, that's something that's definitely very common to do. And like you said, people just want to leave their mark and show that, yeah, these are my guys. And, yeah, I forget what the old staff did. There's a reason why they got fired, but these are my guys. This is why I'm bringing them in. So, like I said, it should definitely not be a situation where any player should be handcuffed. They should have the ability to kind of seek a new refuge because, like I said, there's plenty of instances where players decide to stick it out and hopefully things will work out and just being hopeful in general, and things just really don't work in their favor. Next thing you know, your career's over, or a couple years down the line, now you're trying to transfer and just saying, dang, why not transfer when I had the opportunity once the coach left? So, like I said, it's definitely a situation where people should really give a hard look at potentially leaving because a lot of change is in store if you stay around with this new coaching staff.
Well, and that's the conundrum is that there's a lot on the players. There's a lot on you guys of saying, why are they doing this? Why are they moving? Why can't they commit? We relied on these guys. Why can't are they too young to understand what's going on? Do they not believe in commitment and whatnot? But you can always say that about the coach as well. And it's commonplace for a coach to say, I'm signing a 5-year extension. I'm going to be here until 2028. And then 2019 rolls around and he has a conversation with Arkansas and says, see you later. So, Manny Diaz, I just brought up in the first hour of the show with Alex Dodd, who came onto the broadcast. Manny Diaz wasn't even in Temple for 3 weeks. He didn't even get to run a practice before he went back to Miami. So, you think about these situations where Temple's looking for their head coach. They're trying to find the right guy. They go through this entire situation. They got players waiting and seeing what's going on. They got to play a bowl game amidst all of this. And they decide that Manny's at the top of the board. They offer him a contract. He agrees to it. He's flying up there to Philadelphia. And then Mark Richt says, you know what, I'm going to retire. I'm not going to do this thing in Miami anymore. And Manny leaves and goes back to Miami, leaving Temple with nothing. Philadelphia is not that far away from Boston, Massachusetts. What do you think about a situation like that where if you were on that Temple team and you find out your head coach is going to be Manny Diaz and you go, okay, I'm going to see what he's like. I'm going to give him a few weeks here. I'm going to play this bowl game and I'm going to get a feel for him before I decide what I'm going to do. And he's not even there 3 minutes and he's back down in Miami. As a player, how would you have handled a situation like that to wait for your head coach, get your head coach, not have the guy that recruited you, he takes his staff with him to Georgia Tech, and you're like, okay, well, we have Manny Diaz, let's see what he's all about, and the plane never lands, so to speak?
No, like you said, that would be a very interesting type of situation. Yeah, I'm curious. Like I said, I'm definitely going to look into that myself to see how some of those players reacted to that, because that's something that, like you said, that's not only annoying, but just something that really shouldn't happen. That's the whole purpose of a contract. If you sign a contract, that means you are agreeing to do this. That's the reason why you take your time before you sign the contract. Same thing with signing a national letter of intent. You have to make sure that you take the time to really consider and understand that, yes, is this a decision you want to make, because it is a commitment. And with that commitment, you expect people to follow through. It's just similar to like a promise. And the fact that he said, I'm going to be here for you guys and I'm going to be your coach. And then once he sees a shinier opportunity, he's like, oh, well, forget you guys. I got something better. And that's like kind of just, sadly, how some coaches are, because, not everyone, but a lot of coaches are all about kind of just growing in terms of, all right, if I started at a D2 school, now I'm trying to get up to D1AA. All right, now I'm to D1A, but I'm only the offensive coordinator. Now I want to be a head coach. All right, now I also got the head coach. Now I want to be a head coach of a big school. And then now the NFL. And, everyone just wants to continue to just grow. So because of that, they'll do whatever it takes. And that's in terms of just working people extremely hard. We had, over the last few years, a couple of deaths and things like that happened because people really want to win that badly. And I understand that's the whole purpose of the game and it's competitive, but sometimes these coaches really don't always have the best interest of the players and really are kind of selfish in their intentions, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, we're living, and that's the situation is, trying to figure out how to navigate through this storm and to be in these unique situations that, again, and people forget this, these are young kids. You're not an old man when you're playing college football. You're a teenager. You're in your early 20s. So you decide to go over to Delaware. And, recently, like you just put out a thing, people were asking why wasn't I out there on the field this season and whatnot. So what's going on with Darius Wade today? What's happening in the here and now? What is the present and the future looking like? What's the road that you are taking right now, Darius?
So for me, it was in August. My shoulder started acting up during fall camp. And I went to the trainers and said, yeah, my shoulder's super sore when I'm throwing it. I really don't know what to do. So they just looked at it, said strength was good, range of motion was good. Says, hey, you're fine. It's probably just sore from this up increase in repetitions because we're throwing a lot for fall camp. So I said, all right, you're right. So just iced it, put heat in the morning, stretches and stuff. However, as fall camp continued, it just progressively got worse and worse. And in reality, this was something that I felt before. The first time I felt it was sophomore year at BC during fall camp as well. And it was something that I felt before, but I was able to just kind of change my arm slot, and then I was kind of good to go, and there was no problems. But for some reason, even after I changed it, it just kept hurting and kept getting worse. So I kept going back, and they kept saying, well, everything still looks fine, so I believe you're fine. And just tried different things, didn't work. And then one day, I tried to throw an 18-yard dig route, so that's a big boy throw. And you got to really put some juice on it, so I tried to really get it out there. And as I went to throw it, then my entire arm just went numb. So at that point, I said, yeah, I need to see a doctor. So I went to see a doctor. He believed I had some type of impingement that was kind of causing my pain and my soreness and things. And just gave me a little regimen to kind of use to kind of fix it. Didn't work. Then he thought I possibly had a labrum tear. So then just since I was still technically able to throw, then he thought it was a grade 1, so it didn't need surgery. So then we were just doing the rehab for that. That didn't work. So we finally got an MRI. And then the MRI showed that it was a bone that was potentially causing all my issues. So in all your joints in your body, you have growth plates. And my growth plate and my throwing shoulder decided not to fully grow and fuse together. So because of that, it was just kind of separated. It was just two separated bones that were supposed to be connected. And at some point, I took a hit that then forced one of the bones to be low-lying. So now that bone actually pretty much digs into my rotator cuff. So now as I go to throw, then it's causing fraying, which is just kind of peeling away at my rotator cuff. It also hits different nerves and stuff, which is why my arm went to sleep or went numb the one time. And then also it causes an impingement because it's kind of like a doorstop or a blocker, where now as I'm trying to raise up my arm to throw, it kind of gets locked and stuck, and I kind of have to fight through it. So then went to a surgeon to talk to him about what are my options, and they thought they could just shave off or remove the bone, and they realized it was too big to do that. And they said the surgery, modern medicine surgery for this technical problem is like an 85% fail rate because they'll put a metal plate in it, and typically because I'm a high volume thrower, it will then cause wear and tear, cause complications that will then make it even worse. So then now my doctor apparently just said, yeah, this isn't looking too good. I mean, you might want to look into doing something else with your life because I'm not touching it. I don't know how to fix this. And I'll do my due diligence and call around. So you call out the Steelers team physician, the Eagles team physician, the 49ers team physician, as well as the University of Alabama team physician, just to kind of get their opinions. Have they seen this before? Have they fixed anybody with it? What did they do? And only one of them saw, which I think was the Steelers team physician, and all he suggested was just stem cells. But that's extremely experimental and not a guarantee to work. And also insurance companies simply don't pick it up because it's experimental. So then time kept going on, kept trying to figure out answers, and then finally just recently went down to Atlanta to meet with the orthopedic surgeon who is over the shoulder throwing specialist. So he works on like pitchers and quarterbacks and things of that nature. And he actually did Drew Brees' shoulder back when he had his shoulder complications. So like he's a well-known person and someone who has very good credibility. And unfortunately, he just said he really didn't know what to do to kind of help fix me, because he said he knows that I aspire to try and make it to that next level, but whatever he was considering doing, he believed wouldn't get me to an NFL throwing level. It would just get me to be able to go in the backyard and sling with my kids level. So, like I said, that was definitely not what I wanted to hear, and kind of to hear that your career is over for the second time was definitely very disheartening. However, I mean, I've already been able to deal with so much and been told a lot of things that I could and couldn't do. And I just feel like, I mean, this is just another time that God's testing me. So I don't want to just kind of roll over and just die. I'm definitely going to keep pushing forward and just, no matter what, just keep trying to find a way to get my shoulder fixed and just get myself back out there at some point. But in the meantime, I still have to be a realist. While it's hurt, I can't really do anything football-wise. So because of that, I still have to be a productive human being and be able to make money, pay for my rent, and things of that nature. So currently I'm just working part-time at GNC with the supplement store, just to kind of gain some type of work experience, because one of the unfortunate things is, as being a college football player, I have a great degree from Boston College and I'm about to get a master's degree, but in terms of getting a job, most companies, all they care about is work experience. And being a football player, unable to have internships and jobs and things of that nature, then I was kind of at a disadvantage in that point of view. So I thought it would be beneficial to kind of definitely start getting some job experience. Something I was also considering doing was joining the Air Force and serving my country. However, now we're in this government lockout and things aren't looking all that great. So definitely going to put that on hold for a little bit. But like I said, just trying to weigh my options, kind of just doing some soul searching, just figuring out who I am, what I love, and what it is I want to do. And in the meantime, like I said, still trying to get my shoulder fixed along the way. So that's where I'm at currently. And in the future, like I said, I could pretty much be anywhere. I know I have a job opportunity back up in Boston at Suffolk Construction, which is awesome. Also looking into some potential coaching jobs. So just trying to get myself as many options as possible so I can kind of be in a good position going forward. So.
And that coming here from Darius Wade, finding a way through all of this stuff. Like you said, God testing you again. You've brought up a bunch of different ideas. You got a job back in Boston. You're doing what you got to do in school. You have opportunities. You looked at, like you said, joining the Air Force and whatnot. So you have all of these different pieces and things that you can do. Some people would just give up. Some people would just sit at home and sulk and feel bad. Some people would stop believing in God. You said God is testing me again. What is faith in your life? What is the meaning of God in your life? And when these moments happen, do you kind of shake your fist at God, or do you say, hey, you know what? I know you love me. We got to figure out. You're telling me something. I got to figure out what you're telling me.
No, exactly. So with me, since I was young, faith was something that was always instilled in me. My parents definitely wanted me to be a God-fearing man and to go to church and kind of learn as much about him as possible. And pretty much faith is just such an important thing to have, because in times like these where you just feel like you don't know what to do and there's just so much going on and it's just so intense, and you just kind of, like you said, get to that point where you just want to just give up and just stop. Then you just have to have faith that this is all a part of a bigger plan, and just to kind of take a step back, take a deep breath, and really just look at the scope of the bigger picture and realize that there's so much more that you're capable of doing. God didn't put you on this earth just to only play football. You have so many other things that you can then give to this world. So don't limit yourself just to football and be so torn up about it. So I guess this was just his way of either saying, well, I want you to do something else with your life and impact this world. Or he was saying, if you can make it through this adversity, if you can deal with this pain and find a way through it, that there will be so many more rewards at the end in football for you. So I feel like it's either one of those two ways. And like I said, at this point, I'm trying to prepare myself for either one, whether it's just me just continuing to work out and staying tip-top shape, or like I said, just working and filling out these job applications and stuff like that. So.
And for you, I mean, did you ever look at or think about the idea of going out there and, you know, and being a coach and having an opportunity to coach out there? I mean, I know you talked about getting your body right and working out and whatnot, but would you be interested if football is not something you could continue to play body-wise, you know, for the health of your body and your arm and whatnot? Would you look at that opportunity and say to yourself, you know, maybe I could be a quarterback coach, you know, maybe I can move up the ranks here? Is that something that you would ever look at?
So actually, yes. So that was something my parents had told me for a while. I also had opportunities back in high school as well as even in college to kind of work some of these college camps and stuff. And I had an opportunity to work the college camp at University of Delaware this past summer. And you know, you have other schools that can also come to these camps just to also recruit. And a lot of them were watching me coach the quarterbacks and felt like I could definitely be a coach, and they thought I did a really good job, and were saying practically after you're done, I mean, if you want to come coach, then yeah, definitely hit us up. So I've been told that I can do a good job with it, and that's something even when I was at BC and Anthony came in as a true freshman. I'm always someone who, my dad would always get mad at me. He's like, what are you doing? You can't tell them all your secrets. You got to at least have something to have an advantage. I'm like, I just want to, help people. If there's things that I know that you don't, then I'm going to give you that information. And even though it might backfire because now you're playing and I'm not, I still feel some type of gratitude to be of assistance and help kids be better. So because of that, I feel like that's something that's definitely in my nature and something I could do a good job at. It's just a matter of if I get an opportunity or not. So.
That coming from Darius Wade. Plenty of opportunities out there. A go-getter, not sitting there on the couch slouching, but realizing that there could be some opportunity to continue to play football. There's an opportunity that could be there to coach football. You brought up a bunch of different avenues. And Darius, I wanted to have you on the show today, not just because, you know, you had some time to play in college football, but because of the fact that, you know, you've always stayed true to the conversation. You know, I tell everybody that's going through recruitment, whatever school you go to, whoever you end up choosing, you always have a spot. You can always come back on Wake Up Call. We can always talk. And you were looking at Syracuse, looking at BC, looking at all these places, and ultimately chose Boston College. You and I kept in touch. And when you got hurt, you know, I shot you that text message because to me, no matter what school you ended up at, I wanted to see you, like you said. You want to see other people do well. You want to see other people succeed. So, you know, I got to thank you for coming on today and being so open and honest about your story, about adversity, about these bigger questions that we ask in college football. But more than anything, I want to thank you for letting me speak with you when you were in high school, and now all these years later, staying true to that, keeping in touch, and that when I texted you, you texted me back. So it means a lot, and it goes a long way to, you know, have you on the show today, because it comes from you keeping in touch and you know, obviously, you know, building a relationship that I appreciate and I respect very much so. So above all things, whether you ever throw a pass again, I thank you for, you know, being here today and being here 5 years ago.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. Like I said, I was always told since I was young, never burn any bridges and always be there for people that were there for you. So like I said, you were there, someone who was there from the start. And like I said, I appreciate all your insights, and I appreciate you always just kind of checking in and just making sure I'm all right. And like I said, it definitely doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you.
Anytime. And I know that is it in Elizabethtown? Or is it called Elizabethtown? There's a pizza place in Delaware. Maybe it's called Elizabethtown. It's I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think it is. They have a fig pizza. It's like fig and something like that. I don't know. There's a really good pizza spot in Delaware, and I was talking to Trevor Cooney, who played Syracuse basketball, and I mentioned it to him, and he's like, yeah, Delaware's so small that you kind of just know where everything is. Where's the pizza hot spot, in your opinion? Where is it for you in Delaware?
So from what I was always told, most people were big Grotto's people. So Grotto's Pizza is like chain franchises, like primarily in Delaware and other surrounding parts. But I know Grotto's is definitely the big typical spot. But I don't know, I was never too much of a pizza guy. You know, I bloat when I have too much bread, so can't do that. But yeah, but nah, yeah, I was proud of no complaints with that. That was a great place where, like, anytime you're young, that's where all, like, the youth teams would all go, like, for their victory meals and their banquets and stuff. So it was a nice, like, family atmosphere and really good pizza. So.
All right. Fair enough. Well, that coming from Darius Wade. Can't have the pizza because it makes you bloat. I mean, I get it. Yeah, I can understand that.
Gotta look good.
Yeah, you gotta go. You gotta look good. You gotta take. Listen, you gotta always look good for the pictures. You gotta be ready for. I can't say the word selfie because I feel like it makes every man sound like a 16-year-old girl. So I won't say it. But you gotta take good pictures. So cheers to everything going on. Hopefully some good news with your body. Keep me updated on everything that's going on. And no matter what happens, Darius, as I said 5 years ago, you always have a spot right here on Wake Up Call.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
All right, man. Be good and take care of Delaware for us, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, take care. That coming from Darius Wade one more time. I mean, those are the stories that you love to tell, right? He's just like he appreciates his life. He's been through so much. You realize so much. I mean, everything that this man had to go through mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, socially, economically now, because you're trying to find a job where maybe you're thinking in your head, I'm going to the NFL when you're growing up because you have these opportunities and you could throw the ball. And now that you're hurt, you have to kind of, okay, what am I going to study in school? What do I want to do for the rest of my life? What do I want to do for the here and now? There's all these things. See, we see these athletes and we see them healthy and injured. And if they get injured, you forget about the injured guy because you're looking at the healthy guy and you're hoping that guy is going to win the next game. But they're individuals. They're human beings. They're somebody's children. They're somebody's brother. They're somebody's sister. They're somebody's boyfriend or girlfriend. Somebody's best friend. Somebody's niece, nephew, grandchild. Darius Wade is one of those people. And I hope that his story is tremendous. Tremendous. Because there's nothing better than seeing somebody rise out of the fire. So you're going to do it, Darius. And I'm going to hang out on the ride because I can't wait to see what you're going to do. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll be back in just a moment. Under promise, over deliver. We're supposed to end at 11. We have more show to have, so we're going to go a little bit later today.
This is a wake-up call fast break.
Utica Pizza Company spells family. Your family, my family, their family. The recipes that they have shared with each other throughout the years and have now been so gracious to share them with us. I can sit here and talk with you about all the great things that are on the menu. We'd be here forever. So let me say this. Utica Pizza Company is second to none. And now you can bring it home with you and you can dine in the restaurant. UticaPizzaCompany.com will give you all the information that you need. And let me say, these Utica greens, they're the best. Utica Pizza Company. Call them and place your order at 315-214-3060. That's 315-214-3060. Families break bread at Utica Pizza Company. For all of us that have always wanted our favorite restaurant to come to us, it's now a reality in Central New York with It's a Utica Thing, with Utica Pizza Company bringing their wonderful recipes that they've handed down through generations to you, to your event, to your business, to your home. It's a Utica Thing, proudly bringing Utica Pizza Company on wheels to your location. Call 315-738-8946. That's 315-738-8946 to bring Utica Pizza Company to your doorstep with It's a Utica Thing. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Hanging out here in the studios, going a little bit later here on a Tuesday, January 22nd. Happy Tuesday to everybody. Want to let you know once again before we get into our last segment of the show that we have a twofer, a back-to-back doubleheader live event going on at the PressRoom Pub tonight. And that is at 220 Herald Place in historic Herald Square. Downtown Syracuse, 220 Herald Place. That's where you got to be, right by Clinton Square. It is going to be tremendous tonight. We have Coach Q, the Syracuse women's basketball head coach, that's going to be joining us from 6 to 7 p.m. live on Facebook Live and obviously live on location for all the fans that come out to hang out with us, get a drink, get something to eat, meet Coach Q, get an autograph from Coach Q. So Q's going to be with me from 6 to 7 at the press room, and then from 7 o'clock on, we're going to have live trivia. So come hang out with the coach's show and then play some trivia. 6 to 7, Coach Q, 7 o'clock on, trivia. We're going to have a big night at the PressRoom Pub. We're going to have a ton of fun tonight. Can't wait for the opportunity to get out to the PressRoom Pub and have some fun with Coach Q and have some fun with trivia as well. So we look forward to seeing you out there. Free parking, over 400 spots. Come hang out at 220 Herald Place in historic Herald Square tonight, and we will have ourselves a tremendous time. With that being said, it's time to get into our final part of today's show, and that is the ingredients to success, proudly brought to you by Utica Pizza Company, and It's a Utica Thing. Utica Pizza Company and It's a Utica Thing are two tremendous businesses all roped into one, and Utica Pizza Company is located on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, New York. You can call them for catering as well as delivery and takeout by calling 315-214-3060. That's 315-214-3060. Make sure you make that phone call and get in touch with them if you want to have an event catered for your business or personal life, as well as if you're looking for some takeout. You want to get the chicken riggy pizza to go today. Great idea to bring back to the office or bring to the kids tonight for some dinner. Chicken riggy pizza. Make it happen. It's the wake-up call #1 pick. 315-214-3060, or you can go see them in North Syracuse on 628 South Main Street. It's a Utica Thing are the Utica Pizza Company sauces that are available to you at now Wegmans, Price Chopper, Nichols, Spira's, Stewart Shops, Beacon Skiff, so on and so forth, all throughout upstate New York and central New York and all throughout the state of New York in and of itself. You can go and get the It's a Utica Thing Riggy sauces, the roasted garlic Riggy, the piggy Riggy, the veggie Riggy, the chicken Riggy, the marinade sauce, the famous tomato pie. You can get a frozen tomato pie that you put into your oven for like 8 minutes and it comes out tasting like they just made it 5 seconds ago. All of that is available to you through It's a Utica Thing products that you will find on the shelves of the stores near you here in central and upstate New York. So go get you some, and I very, 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 very much am excited for It's a Utica Thing and everything that they've built and what Utica Pizza Company has done in general. So big ups to Utica Pizza Company and It's a Utica Thing, and a thank you to Charlie DiGristina, Phil Russo, and the entire team that works tirelessly to make the meals that feel like they're homemade, because they're from homemade recipes. So they are what they say they are, which is a beautiful thing to find in today's world. They're extremely hardworking. They don't ask for any handouts. And in all the time that I've known Charlie and Phil, they have diligently pounded the pavement themselves to be what they want to be. They want their dreams to come true, so they have worked crazy hours to make it possible. The time that they spent in how they were going to label the sauces, to getting the tomato pie right, to all of the ingredients that go into it, and making sure that, you can preserve it inside of this container, but it has to keep the same flavor and it can't change. Just constantly taste testing it and looking at the labels and all of that packaging and who is going to be doing it, where are they going to be getting it from, and meeting with the stores and doing demonstrations, and all the while running Utica Pizza Company, all the while making sure that you have your day-to-day restaurant going while you're building up all this other stuff, and going out to fairs and going out to events and always making themselves available. And they have tremendous families to allow them to do so. So to the DiGristina family and the Russo family, and to Phil and Charlie and everybody involved in Utica Pizza Company and It's a Utica Thing, congratulations. Keep it going, because we rise together, right? And as Wake Up Call rises, Utica Pizza rises. And as Utica Pizza rises, Wake Up Call rises. And It's a Utica Thing as well within all of that. So you got to surround yourself with people that have the same drive as you do. And I will tell you that I've never been known to stop going. But if for some reason I ever thought, hey, you know what? I'm going to give up, which I could never do. I can't even, it makes me want to throw up to say those words. You know, you're surrounded by people like Charlie and Phil that just, you pick each other up, and you're always there for each other. So shout out to Phil and Charlie, and I appreciate the entire team at Utica Pizza Company, and it's a Utica thing. So it's time to do the ingredients to success, and I'm going to go off of Darius Wade's story and the ingredients to success coming off of what Darius Wade had to go through. Keep your mind strong. Read books, okay? Read self-help books. Don't feel bad about it. I got a book called Stop Walking on Eggshells. You know, there's The Secret. People like to read that book. There's books on, you know, meditation, mindfulness. There's, you know, how to deal with people who project. You know, there's a book that I have that says don't sweat the small stuff, ... and it's all small stuff. So don't sweat the small stuff. By the way, it's all small stuff. The stuff that you're worrying about. If you're alive and you're here, guess what? Everything else is trivial. And, you know, to really create that big picture of if you're going through cancer treatment, you're still alive. Keep rolling. If somebody doesn't like your post on social media, keep rolling. If somebody breaks up with you, oh my God, my life's over. No, it's not. Keep rolling. And it creates perspective. So read books. Read self-help books. Stretch. Meditate. A healthy body is a healthy mind. A healthy mind is a healthy body. So do right by yourself. If your body doesn't feel good, go to the doctor. Get a checkup. Do what you need to do. Say a prayer for me today. I have to go for a nerve test, and I have no idea what that's going to mean and what that does. So just say a prayer that everything works out well, and I'll say a prayer for you too and whatever's going on in your life. And, you know, so take the time for yourself. Go to the doctor when you need to go to the doctor. Like, I'm going, right? Go to the doctor. Get checked up. Stretch. Eat healthy. Think about what matters to you in your life. And prioritize. If you're really bad at being on time, which I am not the best at it, then, you know, practice leaving 15 minutes earlier than you were going to leave. If you have an appointment at 1:30, instead of leaving the house at 1 o'clock, leave the house at 12:45. God forbid you get there early, get yourself a coffee and sit and wait for the person to meet you there. So, you know, practice being on time. Practice valuing your time. Watch a show. You know, I've been going to sleep at night watching comedy specials the last few nights. Watch, you know, stuff that makes you laugh or that makes you think. If you love to sing, sing more. If you're a writer, then take some time to write down your feelings. Some people can write their feelings out and it gets them out of their body, right? Because our head gets congested. So we have to find the thing that releases the pressure from our head. And for some of us, it's writing all the feelings down. For other people, it's playing basketball or playing a sport. For other people, it's singing. For other people, it's meditating or it's jogging. Whatever it is for you, do it. As long as it's healthy and you're not hurting anybody, do it. You know? For me, when I have a lot of feelings and a lot of thoughts, when I write it down, I look at them. And then all of a sudden I start to feel better. So I have to write more. That's my thing. So find your ingredients to success. Find your happy. Find what you need to do to get you to that happy point. Don't say, I'm going to be happy someday. Don't say, I'm going to be happy someday. Be happy today. Because someday may never come. And someday is not a day of the week, right? There's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but there's not a someday. So the time for you to enjoy life is right now. Because if you're waiting for someday, it doesn't exist. It's not on the calendar. So do it today and be good to yourself.